broadcasting from the studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend. It's the Ken Calvert Show with your host, Ken Calvert.
Hey now, and hi everybody, it's Ken Calvert, and welcome to the Ken Calvert Show podcast. We are broadcasting from the casual studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend. And it's time once again for Ken's 10. I either have a list of 10 things that have gotten under my craw, under my skin, or I rattle on for about 10 minutes. And by looking at my notes here, and there are quite a few here, I'm going to roll for about 10 minutes today. But I thought maybe you'd like to start with my market misery for today. And a couple of things I told you in the past about the bad tuna fish that I bought and how they berated me for, bringing it back even though it smelled horrible. Well, and then we went from there. Anyway, I got a couple for you today. Here's one that really, really, really cheesed me off. And I see it all the time, and so do you. And I wonder how you react. It's the shopping cart. Okay, I can handle the shopping cart being left up on a sidewalk. All right, I can handle that. I cannot handle the shopping cart being left in a parking space. And to a point, I could even accept that. But it's the people that walk by the parking space with the shopping cart that don't bother to grab the shopping cart from the parking spot and just at least put it on the sidewalk, if not just take it in and use it themselves. It drives me insane. For one, and I'm telling you honestly, if I have the cart, I take the cart out, put my stuff in the car, take the cart back in, put it back in to the corral. And that's because I worked at a grocery store for 8 years, so I knew back then that was the right thing to do. So let's do it together. Let's all, in the future, learn to work together on cart courtesy. My other market misery for today is the ear-budded, one-sided phone talker, and they're everywhere. People cannot go anywhere without being on their phone. I'm not telling you anything you didn't know. And especially in the grocery store, God forbid you push a cart up and down the aisle with a shopping list and not socialize with a friend, a family member, or somebody you work with, okay? You're shopping and you're gabbing, man. You got to do it. So I'm in the cereal aisle looking at all the classics from when I was a kid and looking at the newer ones. When I hear, and I'm just staring at the cereal now, and I'm probably going to get some Raisin Bran. So I'm thinking, okay, look at that. Oh, I used to absolutely love Frosted Flakes as a kid. They're great. The whole 9 yards and Cocoa Puffs and all that. Tricks are for kids. Tricks are for kids. You know the drill. Anyway, I'm in the cereal aisle looking at the classics when from behind me I hear, "Where have you been? I've been looking for you." I turn around and I naturally answered the question. I said, I've been right here looking at the cereal. And the woman, and it was a woman, I'm not just going to say that, it was a woman on the phone, snaps at me like a fresh green bean and says, "I wasn't talking to you." So I feel like this is a scene out of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And all I can hear while I'm looking at the cereal now, and I'm doing it sort of in an animated style, "I'm not talking to you." So anyway, all right, so getting back to what was really, at the time, kind of a cool experience, just staring at the cereal aisle. I was looking at Oreos, okay? They've been out since 1997. I looked it up. And everybody loves Oreos. They've been fooling around with the Oreos way, way, way too much for me. Leave them alone. I guess double stuff's okay. Are you aware of the fact that, it's out there, Oreo drink mix? Yep. And it's at stores that aren't around here. At least I'm not aware of any Hy-Vee stores, Hyvee. All right? Okay, so here's how it works. The mix that you get includes actual Oreo crumbles, and then you stir it into the milk like you would any other powdered product. It reportedly results in a thick chocolate milk with Oreo undertones. What is an Oreo undertone? I mean, like later in the day, you kind of go, is that like if you do a burp and blow, your friend says, wow, I smell Oreos? It's kind of gross, Ken, but you've heard of burp and blow or belch and blow, haven't you? We used to call that a deli face, where you'd go like have a corned beef sandwich and later on you would have a really intense burp and you would poof into your friend's face. Now that said, the mix is not available everywhere yet. I talked to a Cary Foods rep who told me that you can currently find it at your local Food Lion, Hy-Vee, Southeastern grocers like Albertsons and or Woodman's Markets. So with that, let's all collectively do a burp and blow. Hey, by the way, can I just stick with things that are repulsing you, whatever the case may be? I got to be honest with you, another thing that I can't stand is when I see people drinking milk out of their cereal bowl when it's done. Kind of makes me gag. And I have to know, I'm not the only one, right? Please, somebody out there say, yep, that's me. I do it too. I can't stand seeing people drink the milk. My entire family used to do it. And they thought I was the odd one. Okay, which leads me to the Curious Ken segment of Ken's 10. Did you come from an Oreo home or a Hydrox home? Now, I had a friend who claims that he was poor, so his family could only afford Hydrox cookies, where he had to go to his rich friends' homes to get the Oreo cookie. Well, we had Oreos, but we were certainly not rich. But I remember from my days working in the grocery store that the Hydrox folks don't quite build the cookie as well as the Oreo folks do. All right, do you come from a Hellman's home or a Miracle Whip home? Okay, I'm in the minority on this one, I know. Did you come from a creamy home or a crunchy home? I came from the minority, a crunchy home. Were you Jif or were you Skippy? I like them both. I love peanut butter. And now the bonus question, do you like Spam? Do you? I despise Spam. In fact, I dislike Spam so much that as I flash back to my days in the grocery store, working at Kroger, 8 years, as a matter of fact, while I was going through parts of high school and college, I could not even put Spam on the shelf. I disliked it that much. I can see now that I've only got about 2 minutes to get the rest of my Ken's 10 out there, which means that I have to move along now to my Christmas song portion of the program. I'm sure we've all heard about the radio station in Cleveland that banned the song, Baby It's Cold Outside. I have a friend, Fred Jacobs. He's a media consultant. He's big. He was my original program director. Not my original, but very early on. In fact, I've interviewed him on this podcast. You can go back and listen to it. I highly recommend it if you're in radio. It's awesome. It's great. Fred put out a great article on Baby It's Cold Outside being banned from that radio station in Cleveland. And he said, was it a great move or was it a great stunt? In response to that, at WKEN, now cut from our playlist, I had no choice but to remove Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. I don't think it should be anything I need to explain. It's all in the title. Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. No, it's not going to be played on WKEN. Nor will Run, Run, Rudolph. We're not going to run the little gangster until he can't run anymore. That would be cruelty to animals. I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus. Creepy and just wrong. And finally, no longer being played, although it was great for DJs to take a little bit of a break, maybe go out and get some fresh air or use the restroom, whatever the case may be. I'm talking of Santa Claus and His Old Lady by Cheech and Chong. We do not refer to our spouse as an old lady, and we most certainly do not condone the idea of Santa Claus and his reindeer getting high. And speaking of getting high, it's now legal in Michigan. I'm talking about marijuana. People 21 and over are able to carry up to 2.5 ounces of marijuana and keep up to 10 ounces securely stored in their home. You are allowed to smoke and consume marijuana at your home or in designated areas, just not in public or on the grounds of a school. The state's zero-tolerance limit for driving remains in effect. And as of right now, you will need to possess a Michigan medical marijuana card obtained through your doctor and make your purchases at an approved Michigan marijuana dispensary. You cannot sell any of that stash, stock, or bounty to others. However, you can gift it. That's right, you can gift it, so ho, 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 Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everybody. Ta-da! Well, mighty fine. There's Ken's 10, and I did it. I fit it all into about 10 minutes. Coming up today, it's Monday Memories. Today I feature a classic with Bobby Slayton, the pit bull of comedy. This goes back about 8 years. Born to be Bobby on Showtime, the special. Bobby is one of the funniest people I know, and you will never meet anyone that can talk faster than Bobby Slayton. Just have a listen to the two of us getting together, and you tell me who gets more words in per minute. Enjoy.
I'm here.
Oh, it's awesome. Bobby Slayton, the pit bull of comedy, joining me now.
You know, it's been so long since I've seen you, man. It's been, by the way, did they give you a copy of the special?
No, they did not give me Born to be Bobby, by the way. Which...
Yeah, it was really funny. You know, the name Born to be Bobby. You know, the reason I came up with that, I thought it was kind of funny. But you know, it kind of screams tattoo. You know, like Born to Raise Hell and Born to be Bad and you know, Born to Lose. So for the opening of the show, I have Born to be Bobby tattooed on my back. I don't show the whole thing. It would have taken 3 hours. But I'm just saying, it's a real tattoo. I'm just saying, you know what? You don't see Penn and Teller or Dexter or the cast of Weeds making that kind of commitment to Showtime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And if Amazon.com sells enough of these, I'll have Amazon tattooed on my butt. I'm a company man. What can I tell you? I've got corporate. But it's already on Amazon for like $10.49. I don't know how it's available before it even comes out. Those guys at Amazon, they're the best.
Well, you know, I mean, so in other words, and what I do like about this is because no matter if it's going to be on Showtime, it's got to be, well, it's gonna be good. It's still going to be Bobby Slayton, but there's probably some stuff that you added to the DVD that we can buy at Amazon at that remarkably low price.
Well, what's amazing to me, thanks for the plug. You did that very diplomatically. What's interesting is somebody just told me, it's funny because I looked at the promo and it said, you know, if you buy it at Amazon.com, it's all the stuff that was edited out of the Showtime special. Now, you know what? I hate to say this, but the Showtime special is as raw as it gets. So there's not really a lot edited out. I think the only thing that might be edited out is that the fact that I went over an hour and they had to cut it back to an hour. They have some extras on it where I think me getting the tattoo, but one of the extras I told them to put in, and I don't know if they did, was my sex tape with Pamela and Tommy Lee and Rob Lowe, and at the end we do We Are the World, but I'm not sure if that's in there or not.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
How big is the tattoo?
It's not that big, but
Okay.
it's big. It's kind of like a Cape Fear size, nice. It's my entire shoulder. Not my entire shoulder. It's a pretty big tattoo. I could get it too big because I got other tattoos. And I got my little tramp stamp of the dolphin and, of course, you know, the panda.
Now, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
You move, your cadence, as we like to say in radio,
Yeah.
is beyond anybody else's. You're thinking as quickly as you're talking?
Sometimes things come out before I speak. When I'm on radio, though,
Yeah.
I try not to blurt too much out because, I mean, I know a lot of times now they can tape it or there's a 7-second delay. But, you know, I'm so used to doing radio for years that I'm very careful about what I say. So, you know, it's so funny because last night I'm at the Comedy Magic Club, which is one of the old original comedy clubs, almost like the Comedy Castle in Detroit. And I went to do a 5-minute set to practice for television, and I taped it, and I said I'm going to talk really slow, and I taped it, and I watched it last night, and I'm going, God, I'm trying to talk slow, and this is even fast. You know, it was really fast.
Well, the thing is that I find that to be an attribute, a blessing, and something that you have on your side because some people just move too slow to get to it. You get more jokes in, and I think I'm stealing from you. You get more in 1 minute than most comics get in 5.
Well, you know, it's good, but it's been also detrimental because I've learned to speak slow enough. I mean, I'm not doing it now because when on radio, you usually only get 4 or 5 minutes. You want to try to be funny. You want to try to plug your your gig. You want to try to plug your DVD. But I used to talk really so fast. I never realized how fast I talked until I started taping my shows. And when I was a young comedian, it's so funny. My first TV shot ever, show you how old I am, was on the Merv Griffin show in Las Vegas.
Yep.
And Jay Leno called me up, and Jay was always helping out in the comics. And, I was a new guy, and I just moved to L.A., and Jay said, hey, listen, if you want to come over to the house, we'll go over the material, see what you're going to do, I'll help you out. And I was going, no, I know what I'm doing. And I went to do the show. I talk fast enough the way it is. Now you got Merv Griffin's audience, which is, like they say, old people and their parents. And it was at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. So I didn't realize this, but this is a very big room, and you can't work it like you're playing the Comedy Castle. You can't play it like a comedy club. So I went out, and I did my first joke, and I got not one laugh. Now, back then, I'd have a tendency, even though I spoke fast, to speak faster if I got nervous, and a joke didn't work. So here the first joke doesn't work, and I'm freaking out, so I talk faster. And I guess I do my 5-minute set in maybe 2 minutes. Didn't get one laugh. And I walked off. I got out of there. I was just so embarrassed. And they cut me out of the show. I'm actually cut out of a talk show. But it turns out that the reason nobody laughed at the first joke is because I said it so quickly. It's in a massive theater. Nobody heard me or understood me. So I don't think anybody understood one word that I said in those 2 minutes.
That's unbelievable. You know what? I'll tell you something. That is something that I will put up on a podcast, because I think there are so many comics, because I base so much of my program around comedy. I have a thing now called Traffic and Laughter at quarter after, and
I like that.
Yeah. So and then I have another program that I produce called the 5 O'Clock Funnies, which allows me to give you, Bobby Slayton, the new DVD, Born to be Bobby, which can be pre-ordered right now at Amazon.com. And by the way, we'll be seeing tomorrow night. 9 o'clock.
You are so good at this, by the way.
Well, tomorrow night, showtime, 9 p.m. So this is the real deal, the pit bull of comedy, Bobby Slayton. And it should be obvious that the audience is familiar with you, Bobby. I think one of the hardest moments I remember laughing with you was, I forget the bit. It might have been Tushy Cream or something. But
oh, my God. I'll tell you a funny story about that bit.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll tell you a really funny story, okay? At least funny to me as a comic. One of the things that really good comics, and they don't steal from other comedians. And there's a bunch of guys who, we all come up with similar material. I mean, when I was a young comic, I'd go, hey, that guy took that from me. And then people would say that to me. You become very, protective of your material when you're a young comic. You don't have a lot of stuff. But then you realize, hey, other people think of these jokes. Other people have McDonald's jokes and airline jokes and wife jokes and walking your dog and baby jokes. Okay. So I had done an HBO half-hour special, and it was about to come out, and I said, I really need to come up with new material, almost like with the Showtime special. It's an hour, and I realized when we taped that a few months ago, I'm going back on the road now, I better have new stuff. And it's really difficult to do. You watch a guy like Bill Maher or Louis Black, it shows you how great they are, because they'll do an hour, and then they'll come up with another hour, 4 or 5 months later, in between writing books. Okay. Anyway, my daughter was a baby. She couldn't have been more than 6 months old, and she had this incredible, horrible rash, type of rash. And it got so bad that we have to call the doctor. It's like Christmas Eve. There's no doctor to be found. I mean, she looked like she was dying here. And I'm a new father. So we get a doctor on the phone. He says to me, I'm going to give you a prescription. We had to drive across town to go get a prescription Tushy rash cream, or, crotch rash, whatever it was. And it was prescription cream. And I'm thinking at the time, if you have any kind of rash, why can't you just buy the best cream you can possibly get?
Right.
It's not like people are abusing this. It's not like it's methadone or it's Oxycontin. It's not a painkiller. It's nothing that's going to, you're going to get addicted to. If you have a rash, get the best rash cream possible. It's not like kids are freebasing this in bathrooms. There's a Betty Ford rash cream clinic, and she was, first lady at the time. Anyway, that next night, I'm watching Bill Maher on The Tonight Show. Johnny Carson was still on. And Bill Maher does an exact bit. He goes, I have a rash. I mean, it was almost word for word. And he's going, well, why do you need prescription rash cream? It's not like people are, abusing this in the bathrooms, And I'm thinking, God, Bill, how could you have stolen that from me so quickly? And I realized he never saw me do this. You know, he's doing it on the Tonight Show, and he came up with a bit that was it's like one thing if you have like a, McDonald's, hey, the McNuggets, what part of the chicken does that come from? Or you ever notice this guy's so fat? But a Tushy rash cream joke. And he's got a rash cream. So I said, you know what? It just happens that people think of the same stuff. And that was the end of that bit right there.
Two things I want to pile on that, because I think there was one point in the bit where some woman yelled something out, and you said something about, sweetheart, I'd love to break off into small groups and discuss this, but I don't think you realize that I'm working.
Yeah, I've said that before. It's amazing if some people, I'm not talking about heckling, but there are people that will yell out in the middle of a show. I don't think they know this, and it's happening more now because everybody is so interactive on the internet, and everybody is twittering and talking and texting, that I think a lot of times when people, it's almost like that whale that, killed that poor woman at SeaWorld. He was just playing and he was being interactive and he didn't know what he was doing. It's the same thing with audience members, is that they think you're talking to them, and they think that, I'll tell you the problem today with this and that, and they think you're actually asking them their opinion on something. And people do that more than ever. They yell stuff out like you're sitting in their living room having a roundtable discussion.
Well, I love the fact that you just said, I don't know if you realize this, sweetheart, but this is what I'm doing. I'm doing my job. We can't break off into small groups. And you are so right about something in terms of the technological climate, if you will. We were talking about the horrible situation at SeaWorld,
right.
And we thought, I'm sure the whale has a Facebook page. Look,
right.
Here's what happened, all right?
Well, what's really funny is that, and not funny about the situation with the whale, but what's funny about that whole thing is on my Showtime special, I have a bit about wild animals that go supposedly crazy. The tiger with Roy. There was a grizzly bear that killed a trainer last year. They said the grizzly bear, and the whole bit, I'm not going to do it for you right now because people can watch it on Showtime, but the whole bit was basically is these animals aren't going crazy. These animals are doing what wild animals do. And then people just think they're going ballistic, and it ties into my wife and daughter. So it's fun for the whole family, my special.
Well, it's called Born to be Bobby. It's Bobby Slayton, who I consider to be a good friend. I wish he was a great friend.
I haven't seen you in years, man.
I know, and we've got to do this again. We've got to get you to Detroit. We've got to get you back to Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, and we've just got to sort of let you come in and co-host a show sometime.
I'd love to do that.
And that would be a lot of fun. We'd have to have that 7-second delay on full alert. But
maybe 14 seconds, because I talk so fast I actually beat the delay. I don't know how that works exactly.
Well, but let's talk a little more. Born to be Bobby.
The thing is, they got so many comics now doing specials. But you know what? It's like when I taped it, I'll tell you, the one thing you mentioned before about that woman screaming out, usually when you tape a Showtime or HBO special, you get to do two of them. You do two. One you can look at as a dress rehearsal, or they usually edit them together, so you can pick either the best show or in case there's some kind of glitch or some kind of problem. But Showtime only gave me one show because Kevin Pollak, I think, was doing a show right after me.
Wow.
So I said, okay, I got one shot to get this right. And you mentioned it before, since I speak so fast, I will stumble over words once in a while. I'll forget where I'm at. So I spent months, Ken, working in clubs trying to get this hour together. And I said, I hope I have some people to pick on in the crowd, because sometimes I like to, not pick on, some people I like to help. Hopefully there'll be a married couple holding hands. It turns out that the audience is great, and that woman wasn't there yelling crap out to me.
Well, you just mentioned something, that you're an equal opportunity offender. And I
like that.
One of the funniest things, and I don't know, I always have this like sort of Catholic monitor going through me every time I want to run a bit. And it was like you were talking about people in Japan getting haircuts, and it was the whole bit about I think that might, that's one of the great bits I think I brought back and put on the special. Did you really?
I think, see, that was the thing, too, is that it's my first hour special. And like I said, I've done 5 minutes here, and I was on comic relief, and I did a half hour. But for my first hour, I wanted to really do my best material. And the problem with that is that people come to see you, and I think I have enough stuff to do another solid hour where I'm not even touching any of that stuff. But I think there was an Asian guy, and I'm saying I think because I did it 2 months ago. I think there was an Asian guy in the front row, and I think I did that bit.
About the Mo.
Mo haircut, yes.
Right.
I think I did it.
And we'll leave it at that because we don't want to spoil anything whatsoever about Born to be Bobby. Somebody at the radio station said to me, hey, listen, Bobby Slayton's going to do the Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. We're going to sponsor the show at Ridley's. Well, I'm just, it's a hypothetical.
Right.
And they say, all you have to do, KC, is go out there. You're a funny guy. We listen to you on the radio. You say some funny stuff. Just go out there and do 10 minutes. I said, if I could go out there and do 10 minutes, you know what I would be? I would be a stand-up comic and not a DJ.
Right.
10 minutes of really good comedy is probably the most difficult thing any human can do.
Well, I wouldn't say it's like walking through a minefield looking for mines or walking on the moon or, even delivering a baby. But you know what? It's more difficult than it looks. But then you talk to a guy like Leno or Jerry Seinfeld that could be doing it in their sleep. When you're doing something for a long time, like I remember I did my first Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, my one and only time with Johnny Carson, and I did great on the show. And then I said, well, you know what? After 15 years, if you don't have 6 great minutes, you're really doing something wrong. You're in the wrong profession. So, thank God not everybody can do this, because if everybody could do it, it's like playing baseball. It just looks really easy. Sit up there, hey, catch the ball, throw it over this guy. But, it really is one of the most difficult things. But when you're born to do that and you're really good at it, you've played your whole life and you've practiced it, it does come a little bit easier. It's still a job and it's still a lot of work to, stay on top. But, if everybody could do it, then there wouldn't be anything special about it.
Well, I think there's something very special about the talent that you guys have, and the one respect that I've always maintained for you guys is you basically wait around all day to go to work, which I would find very hard to do.
It is very difficult, and that 1 hour or 2 hours that you're on stage, see, that's why when I'm in a city, I basically, I'm a loner, so I found a way to, entertain myself. I'll go to a gym, I'll go to a movie, I'll go out to eat, I'll walk around. But after 2-3 days in a city, it does get a little monotonous. But, again, you walk into a shoe store and go, hey, I can be that guy with a name tag saying, what do you want, size 8.5? So it's a great job.
Yeah.
And, so I don't bitch about the time off. I find it to be the time when you can write stuff and watch TV and do stuff that everybody else wants to do,
Well, do you know, I'll end with this, Bobby Slayton, the pit bull of comedy, and again, do you know within 5 minutes if you've got a good night coming?
Do I know within 5 minutes on stage if I have a good crowd?
When you walk out and I say, ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. He doesn't normally do a hall this size, but please give it up for a good friend and one of the funniest guys I know, the pit bull of comedy. You know him as well from Born to be Bobby. Here's Bobby Slayton. Come on out here, Bobby. And then
yes, you know how you know if you have a good crowd? First of all, I always watch the people before me. And I'm not in their entirety, but I can always gauge an audience by if they're laughing at the comic before me. A lot of times they're not, and I go, great, this crowd's going to suck, and then I find out, well, they're waiting for me. And I get up there, and usually, you know what, you can't always tell in a minute or two, because sometimes in the first minute or two, I don't know what I'm doing up there. I'm just welcoming everybody to the show. But within 3 or 4 minutes, I know how hard I have to work, yes. And sometimes it changes, you go, wow, I thought they were going to suck. They turned out to be great. Sometimes they're great, and after a half hour, it's a Friday Night Late show, you lose them. But I've been doing it for so long that I always do okay. I always do fine. Sometimes I don't bring down the house like I should, but, I've been doing it long enough where, people want to laugh. I got the goods to give them.
Bobby, this portion of it will not be on the air. I'll put it on my podcast, but there are so many kids out there that think they're funny and that they want to try this. What direction would you tell them to go?
You know what? There's so many guys that ask me for advice now, and I swear to God, I don't know what to tell people anymore. Because when I started out, there were, I started out with the comedy movement in the 70s. You were around.
Sure.
There was a comedy castle in Detroit. There was Zanies in Chicago, a couple of clubs in New York. I started out in San Francisco where there were 4 or 5 clubs and not that many comedians. So all of a sudden, these comedy clubs started to open up in every city. When I say not a lot of comedians, I mean maybe a couple of hundred. Now there's probably a couple of thousand. So, you were always working. And all of a sudden, these new TV shows are coming on, like Evening at the Improv, and they needed comics. Then Comedy Central was invented. They needed comics. So we all had a chance to, go on these shows and Young Comedian specials and Showtime and HBO. And now there's a million opportunities to do stand-up if you have an act. Where you put an act together is beyond my comprehension because, outside of, and it sounds so stupid because a lot of places don't do it anymore, but a place like the Comedy Castle, Tuesdays, sign up for open mic night. And a lot of places don't do that anymore. Or you have a million guys sign up and you might get 3 minutes once a month. But like I said, when I started, I got a lot of stage time. I was in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So a lot of stage time.
You are one of the cornerstones, and you know that, and you've been doing it. How long have you been doing it?
God, I've been doing stand-up comedy for 30 years. And Mike Binder, I remember, Mike who put me on Mind of the Married Man
Yep.
on HBO. It was Mike's show. Mike's been a good friend for a long time. And, Mike went on to do other stuff. He stopped doing stand-up. I mean, I don't know how the guy does it, but he writes, he directs, he acts. I just want to do comedy.
All I want to do is radio and talk to guys like Bobby Slayton.
Well, I'm going to come to Detroit. We're going to do something, all right?
Hey, are you kidding me? I'm going to start working on it.
Call your boy Ridley, and let's get my butt over there, all right?
All right.
I'm available all summer. I'm going to call my agent, all right?
Listen, I'll pitch in for it, Bobby Slayton.
All right, pal.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, I'll call you, man.
All right, thank you,
Thanks,
Pelly.
pal.
All right, bye.
You can subscribe to the Ken Calvert Show podcast on Apple iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. It's also available by going directly to www.thekencalvertshow.com. You can reach Ken at kencalvertpodcast@gmail.com. The preceding program is the property of Ken Calvert and may not be rebroadcast without the written permission of Ken Calvert.